What is going on, everybody? This is episode 9 of Let's Be Frank with your host, Frank Mattis, brought to you by the Old City Sports Network. And this is going to be a rough one, so strap in. Obviously, the Phillies season comes to an end by the hands of the New York Mets in devastating fashion. I will preview the Eagles matchup against the Browns and how this could be a get-right game. And is Matvey Michkov's hype too much? Are we overhyping him? I will get into all of that, but first, let's talk about the Phillies. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Yet another gut punch to Philadelphia sports fans. It's been a rough 24 months. Just hear this. In the last 24 months, the Phillies blew a 2-1 lead in the World Series to the Houston Astros. The Eagles blow a second-half lead to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Sixers blow Game 6 and Game 7 to the Celtics in 2023. The Phillies blow Game 6 and Game 7 in the NLCS last year in 2023. The Eagles start 10-1, then crash and burn and get demolished by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the postseason. The Sixers lose in the first round to a one-man Knicks team, and the Phillies lose to an inferior Mets team in the NLDS this year. To say that the last 24 months have been a disaster and have been a never-ending gut punch and a never-ending nightmare for Philadelphia sports fans would be a massive understatement. Where do we begin? What went wrong? First and foremost, the bats. I mean, you couldn't thaw those things with a flamethrower. They were that cold. Ice friggin' cold. And let's start off with the best catcher in baseball, JT Realmuto, who managed to get 0 hits this postseason. I never, ever want to hear Phillies fans declare JT Realmuto the best catcher in baseball. That he is not. When it pertains to defense, there is no question he is the best in the game. To that, there's no debate. But when it comes to the plate, he is what the kids like to say, very mid. Very, very mid. 266, 14 homers, 47 RBIs. I'm sorry. You don't get to be called the best catcher in baseball. And for whatever reason, he escapes criticism. We go after Bryce Harper. We go after Trey Turner. We go after Kyle Schwarber. We go after Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos, Bryson Stott. But for whatever reason, this guy catches no heat. And I'm sick of it. I am sick of it. This guy is holding this team back. He is in no position to bat 5th or 6th. So I don't ever want to hear that JT Realmuto is the best catcher in baseball because he was a no-show, literally a no-show at the plate. And everybody wants to talk about his defense and say, oh, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen from a catcher. Does his defense really help you in the postseason? Does his defense help you? No, it does not. No, it does not. He had a golden opportunity yesterday, and he blew it at the plate. Just absolutely blew it. And I am so sick and tired of the pass that he gets. Why? Why? Because he's so spectacular defensively? I don't understand. Schwarber gets it. Turner gets it. Harper gets it. Boehm gets it. Castellanos gets it. Stott gets it. Our outfield gets it. Our bullpen gets it. But for whatever reason, this guy gets a free pass. It's weird to me. It's weird to me. Do we just not have expectations for what a catcher can do at the plate? I don't know. I don't know why this guy, for whatever reason, gets a free pass. And I'm happy that we're starting to really dissect the issues that he has at the plate. Because he was a no-show. He was pathetic. You know who also was pathetic? Trey Turner. This is yet again another elimination game where he does not show up. Swinging at bad pitches, disaster in the field. When it rains, it pours. And we gave him all that money. And I thought for a second, the way after the standing ovation game, the season he had this year, that we were on to something, that this was the Trey Turner that we were going to get. And that we were going to get a guy that in big moments we were going to get greatness. That is not what we got in these last two games. That is not what you got in this elimination game. Just an absolute no-show in this game. Terrible at bats. Not great in the field. It's when it rains, it pours with this guy. And I question, how clutch he is in big moments, because we now have data now of these last two elimination games of him just completely falling off of a cliff and not producing one bit. Besides Nick Castellanos, what did you get out of the outfield? What did you get out of Marsh? What did you get out of Weston Wilson yesterday? What did you get out of Rojas? What did you get out of Austin Hayes? There's no production there other than Castellanos, who did show up and play, who did show up and produce or try to produce in the postseason. Does anybody else in the outfield want to step up? Anyone? I guess not. You take away the leadoff home run in game one. What did Kyle Schwarber do? What did he do? Bad at-bats. Just nothing. Take out the leadoff home run in game one. What, did he get complacent or something? Horrible. Let's talk Alec Bohm. Something's not right upstairs. Something is not right. And he's, believe it or not, one of my favorite Phillies. I like the emotion. I like that he wants it. I like that, when you're frustrated, like you're not like JT Realmuto and you're just stone-faced. Like you wear it on your sleeve and you want to be great. But what I saw yesterday in the field, that was very reminiscent of Ben Simmons against the Hawks. Just a complete self-destruction. And we need to have a come to Jesus meeting with that guy, because he was an RBI machine this year. And listen, he did bring in the only run of the game. But there's a lot of issues there. And he was more patient, I'll give him that at the plate, but there's a carryover from these struggles in the last half of the year, in the last part of the season, and I'm very concerned that this might have a lingering impact going forward, and that can't happen because we need him. We need him, and I still listen. I'm not saying trade him. I think you obviously gotta run it back with him. I do think that he is a very good player, and I do like the emotion. But he's getting way too emotional, and you can just see a guy just self-destructing. It's a rough watch. It's a rough watch. Bullpen. What a disaster! What an absolute disaster! Did anybody do anything right coming out of the bullpen? I mean, seriously, like. We had one of the better bullpens in baseball. We had one of the better bullpens that we've seen in a long time in Philadelphia. And you let this Mets team take a giant dump on you. Just take your soul. Make you look completely worthless and completely inept. That is a bullpen that was just not ready for the moment. There is zero excuse for that. Just zero excuse. And this leads me to Topper. This team is declining under him. You go to a World Series, you only get to the World Series in 2022. You only get to the NLCS in 2023, and now you only get to the NLDS in 2024. This team is regressing. And we've seen this pattern before. Like with the 08 Phillies to the 2011 Phillies. where they win World Series, then they go to the World Series, and they only go to the NLCS, and then they only go to the NLDS. Not good. Not good. His decision-making was disastrous. Obviously, I highlighted them in Game 1 and Game 2, but to not play Stott, to play Austin Hayes, who was just pathetic in Game 3. Like, what are we doing here? That's called overmanaging. And where was the lack of urgency when Hoffman was struggling? You see a guy like this, just no sense of urgency, no care in the world, and that is a problem. The team is declining under Topper, and they're not going to fire him. Like, I'd be shocked, but you gotta give him a short leash next year. Listen, great story taking over for Joe Girardi, and the players clearly resonate with him, but he's not taking this team where it needs to go. He's just not. And for all the people that love him, and for all the people that like, you know, are like, well, what can a manager really do? Manage your bullpen. Start with that. Don't let guys get destroyed, and then bring Estevez in there for you know, just a horrible situation. You got to have a come to Jesus meeting with this team. So what do you do? Because the window's not closed. You have at least 2 years with this core. You know, you got Harper under contract. You have Trey Turner under contract, Castellanos, Bohm, Stott. You have some guys, you know, there for the long haul. And they're not old, but Father Time is undefeated. And it doesn't get better with time. So what do? You got to get another outfielder. I mean, the lack of production from your outfield minus Nick Castellanos, who, by the way, does have a tendency to go into a really he does have a tendency to slump at times, and and it doesn't look great. But you need somebody to step up. You need to bring in stability there. There's Cody Bellinger, there's Anthony Santander, who are free agents. I would consider that. You just need more production in your outfield. And then, as far as your bullpen is concerned, like you figured you had a good bullpen that just completely was overwhelmed and threw up all over themselves in the postseason. Don't really have a ton of holes besides the closer position, which is something I feel like they need to address. But other than that, like you don't really you can't imagine them just overhauling their bullpen because, I mean, these guys were good this year. They just completely fell apart at the wrong spot in the wrong time. So you got to get a closer. Do you trade one of your core pieces? You're not going to trade Harper. You're not going to trade Trey Turner. I mean, that's just out of the question. But what about guys like, Castellanos, Schwarber, which I don't think you trade. Castellanos is a guy that has stepped up late in the season. He started off slow, lingering from, a bad postseason last year or bad NLCS last year. So you like what you see from him. He was one of the few bright spots. He showed up. He delivered. He got the memo. I feel confident about him. Schwarber did not show up after the leadoff home run, in Game 1. His contract's up in 2026. He's not getting any younger, but he's your best home run hitter, so you can't imagine getting rid of him. And then there's JT Realmuto, who, again, I just don't understand why this guy escapes criticism. It does not make any sense to me. I don't care how good he is defensively. It does not matter in the postseason. And he did not show up in the postseason at the plate. And you have a guy in Marchand who's a switch hitter, who's young, who, is a solid hitter, who is athletic, who is solid enough defensively. He's obviously not JT. Nobody is, but he gives you a different dynamic with the switch hitting. I I would definitely bring him up next year. And to be honest with you, if I were to trade anybody from the core, it's got to be JT. Trade for prospects. Because listen, like I said, the window is not closed, but you really only have 2 years left of this. And you do need to keep an eye on the future beyond the next 2 years, for beyond when the window closes, because you don't want to wait like Ruben Amaro did after 2011, where these guys were just, they had no value, just a huge decline in their play, and you're left with a long rebuild. The Phillies shouldn't be in rebuild mode, but they should have a soft reboot this offseason. Bring in an outfielder, bring in a closer. I personally would trade JT for prospects. Who knows? You can parlay some of those prospects into getting somebody at the trade deadline if you need, or you can ride out with those guys for the future. You don't want to completely rebuild, but you want to get the ball rolling for when you have to rebuild. And I think trading JT Realmuto would be a smart move personally, because I'm so sick and tired of his bat, which is so non-existent. And if you are going to keep JT Realmuto, which they probably won't even trade him. Let's just be honest, but I think they should. He can't be batting fifth or sixth. No way. He's not worthy of that spot in the lineup. He's just not. And if you are going to keep him, he's got to bat seventh, eighth, or ninth. No more of this fifth or sixth, because we need somebody who can actually produce at the plate to do so. Now, granted, nobody really did this postseason, with the exception of Harper and Castellanos. But you're just not getting production out of him at the plate. And I would absolutely consider trading him. Because he, for whatever reason, just escapes criticism. I don't know why. I don't get it. Everybody else gets it. Everybody else catches strays. This guy doesn't. And now the chickens are going to come home to roost. And he needs to be under a microscope, because his bat sucks, candidly. And then, like I said about Topper, the team is regressing. His act is wearing thin. Great story, but you gotta look long and hard, about potentially replacing him, or at the very least, you got to give him a short leash for the first half of the year. You just have to, because it's not heading in the right direction. So yeah, that's what you're looking at this offseason. It's a shame, man. It's a shame, because I was really looking forward to this Phillies postseason, and now it's over. And now, it's going to be a long offseason. And I really feel for all you Phillies fans out there, all you Philly sports fans out there. It's just a never-ending nightmare. And what's sad is that it's one thing if your teams are just bad and there isn't hope, but the fact that they tease you year in and year out, the fact that they have a foundation that can win a championship, whether it's the Phillies, whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the Sixers, and they blow it, and they blow it in the most spectacular fashion. And like I said, Phillies blew the World Series lead 2-1 against the Astros. The Eagles blow a 24-14 lead against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Sixers blow Game 6 and Game 7 against the Celtics. Phillies blow Game 6 and Game 7 against the Diamondbacks. The Eagles start 10-1 and just completely fall off a cliff in the most epic of fashions. Sixers lose to a one-man Knicks team last year in the postseason, and then the Phillies lose to the Mets in the NLDS. It's a never-ending nightmare, and it's brutal. I mean, what else is there to say? I'm speechless at this point. I've said all I need to say about the Phillies. There's always next year. It's they still have talent. There are some things that they can do. It's like I said, it's not going to be a complete rebuild. There's no need for a complete rebuild, but a soft reboot's in order. And I would have a microscope on Rob Thompson in the first half of the season. So on to the Eagles. No excuses this week. You're playing an inferior team at the Link, 1 p.m., first 1 p.m. game, coming off of a bye. You got to be licking your chops because you're going up against a quarterback that stinks. You're going up against an offense that stinks. The Browns are 26th in rushing and 28th in passing. I don't care how bad the Eagles defense is. If you're not licking your chops at those matchups, if you can't get up for those matchups, if you can't take advantage of an inept offense, then you have no hope. This is very favorable for the Eagles this week. Defensively, they should not have an issue with a terrible below average quarterback in Deshaun Watson. But then again, I mean, this defense is up and down. I mean, they were, good in the first game, bad in the second, good in the third, bad in the fourth. Maybe they're, because the way the direction of how this team's playing and just the trajectory of it all, you would think in theory, right, that they would have a good game. But the matchups, indicate that they should have a good Sunday. I mean, if you can't shut down the 26th ranked rushing offense and the 28th ranked passing offense, you're just not good. You're just not good. So I expect them to take advantage of that. They should take advantage of that. The Browns defense is the strength of their team. I believe they're 10th in passing defense in passing defense. Obviously, Denzel Ward is one of the better corners in the NFL. They have a really good pass rush with Myles Garrett, obviously, who's a man amongst boys, one of the elite premier pass rushers in the game. But when you get Lane back and you have Mailata, I still feel confident in that matchup, whoever Garrett goes up against. I think they should be able to stymie him. And, as good as Denzel Ward is, AJ and Devontae healthy should take advantage and should be able to overwhelm Ward. And then, they're 25th in rushing defense. You got to feed Barkley, baby. You just got to feed him and control the clock, take the pressure off of Jalen, win on first down, own the time of possession. Just slowly get this offense going, pound the rock, control the clock. Run. Don't be afraid to get Gainwell and Shipley in. To give Barkley a rest. But this should definitely be a heavy rushing attack for the Eagles going into this game. I mean, they're a 9.5-point favorite. We're talking about nearly a double-digit favorite. If you can't win against the struggling, inept Cleveland Browns with a below-average quarterback and an inept offense, you're just not a good team. You're just not a good team. And, please, just take care of business for the love of God. This is, not everyone is guaranteed. Obviously, you hear the phrase any given Sunday. There's a lot more parity in the NFL than there is college football, but this is a very favorable matchup for the Eagles, and the Eagles need to take advantage, and they need to impose their will on this team because the matchups are right there for them. There's no excuses here. And after that, you get the 3-2 after the bye. Then you play the Giants, who, granted, look better than I anticipated, but I still don't think they're a great team. They did have a huge win against the Seahawks. When they didn't have their running back Singletary and Malik Neighbors going into a tough environment like Seattle. Daniel Jones was solid, but we're a better team. We're a better team. And then the Bengals are a mess. So, and the Jaguars are not great, obviously. So you're looking at potentially 1, 2, 3, 4 wins off of the bye, which, you're looking at 6-2. So, like I said, it was, I obviously had a lot of, doubts about this team early in the season. There's a lot of things to be worried about, I should say. I shouldn't say doubts, but there's things to be worried about. And then the Jalen Hurts turnovers, obviously, were an issue as well. So they have an opportunity here to not only get right, but to go on a heater. The 2-2 is not the worst position to be in. There were some, obviously the Atlanta game, was a bad loss because it was a game that was within reach, a game they should have won. But you could potentially rattle off 4 straight wins, and then you're in a good spot. Then you're in a really good spot, and hopefully by then, Jaden Daniels slows down. But he looks like he's going to be a thorn in our side for many years to come, and for the not just the Eagles but the Cowboys and the Giants for many years to come if he stays healthy. The Cowboys had a big win last week, but Dak's been up and down. So they have an opportunity. So I really hope they take advantage of it starting this week. And before I get into Metchkoff Mania, I want to let you guys know about our sponsor, www.warlordbeardoil.com. If you go there, you use the promo code OLDSports. You get 15% off site-wide. And if you spend $65 or more, you will get free shipping. So go to warlordbeardoil.com, use that promo code OLDSports for 15% off. And if you spend $65 or more, you will get free shipping. So I heard what John Tortorella had to say about the hype around Matvei Michkov, and I get it, right? He's not our savior. He's only 19, and I totally get what he's trying to do there. He's trying to, take the pressure off him a bit, and say, hey, listen, we have other guys on this team that are ready to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and have the experience to to win a lot of games in the NHL and to produce. And he isn't the only guy. And like I mentioned before, you have Coots, you have TK, you have Farabee, you have a solid Tippett, you have a solid nucleus to go along with Michkov. So he's not the only one. But I mean, let's be honest, dude. The Flyers have been starving for a savior in a lot of ways. And when you look at the numbers around the league, they're not amongst the highest in points. They're not amongst the highest in goals. And he can be that guy. So, I totally understand what Tortorella was trying to say. Listen, he's only 19. Like he's not our savior. And I get what he's trying to say. But this fan base needs something big. And this kid is that. He is that. So, like, I appreciate Tortorella taking the pressure off of him. But the future is now. And Michkov Mania starts tomorrow. Excuse me. And I could not be any more excited. Excuse me. I could not be more excited. I think this kid is the real deal. And I think that this kid, though there's a lot of pressure, I think he's up for it. And, if he just plays his game, I think the Flyers are going to stack up a lot of W's and potentially go in the playoffs and hopefully look to make a run. I think they have the talent to do it. Like I said, they have a solid nucleus. Obviously, the goaltender situation isn't ideal. But with the Carter Hart situation, that's unfortunately the cards that were dealt there. So other than that, I just, Sanheim obviously is a solid defenseman. So, I think that they can make a run this year. I really do. The NHL is weird. A team can come out of nowhere and, really, have all the momentum going for them and make a deep run of the postseason. It definitely can happen for the Flyers. If Mitch Goff adds this dynamic that we all think he's going to add to this team, I really believe in him, and I understand that some people, Tortorella is going to try to take the pressure off him, obviously, but some people might be like, is this a little bit too much? Are we expecting too much? Are we getting our hopes up for the Flyers? They almost did it last year, and John Tortorella in year 3, no matter where he's been, has had success. So I think this is going to be a good year for the Flyers. And, obviously this is a network that I think does the best work when it comes to the Flyers. Flyers Alley is the best in the game. So you guys want to go and check them out. And if you want the best Flyers coverage, Old City Sports got your back. So, yeah, that's going to be that. It's tough being a Philadelphia sports fan, isn't it? Huh? Yeah, this was bad by the Phillies, but it's going to be a long off season. There's a lot of moves that need to be made, but the window isn't closed, and we still have a couple years left of this core and this nucleus. But a soft reboot's in order, and Topper's going to be under a microscope that first half of the season because the team is regressing. So it's going to be a long off season, but again, the window's not closed. So hopefully the Eagles can turn it around. They have a golden opportunity to do so, not just this week, but the next couple weeks with some of the favorable matchups that they have going. Mitch Goff Mania starts tomorrow, obviously with Paul George joining the fold of Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. They look to get over the hump, so there is hope. There is hope, believe it or not, but could I see it all crash and burn for any of these teams? Of course. I mean, what that's to be expected at this point. Hang in there, everybody. Go Eagles, go Flyers, go Sixers. Keep the faith. Keep the faith. But until next time, I'll catch you later.